show them zero respect, right? Because they don't deserve any respect. They're a weak team right now. They're crumbling, and you've got to go in there with that mindset. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is James from Cop Logic, and I just want to talk a little bit today about this upcoming game against Manchester City. Obviously, it's a huge game for Liverpool and a huge game in terms of the impact it's going to have on the title race this season for both Liverpool and Manchester City. But before I get into that, I do just want to quickly address the fact that I have been missing from this channel for a while now, and I know a couple of people sent in some messages just asking what was going on. So first of all, I want to apologize for that, and there is a simple explanation. I've been in Japan, and I had planned to continue making videos while I was in Japan, but it just didn't work out like that. It was really impossible. I just never had the time to do it. So unfortunately, yeah, I just haven't been able to put anything out on it. So I apologize for that, but I am back now in the UK, and so normal videos will resume. So now that I am back, obviously a lot of things have changed since then. And I just want to shout out Japan, by the way, because the Liverpool support in Japan, in Tokyo specifically, was phenomenal. If you do happen to head to Japan yourself or Tokyo and you're looking to catch a Liverpool game, get yourselves down to the Epilogue in Ebisu. The support there was great. Great bunch of guys as well. But the big change is that Liverpool now sit top of the Champions League table, and they also sit top of the Premier League table by some way as well. There's an 8-point gap at the moment, and Liverpool have the opportunity this weekend at Anfield against Manchester City to make that gap 11 points, which is absolutely massive. And obviously the wider picture as well is that at the moment it feels like Manchester City are capitulating a little bit, and whether Liverpool can capitalize on that capitulation this weekend. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, but I think you've got to start by addressing the performance that Liverpool put in last night against Real Madrid in the Champions League. So I think one of the biggest things for me, and it's something that people haven't really spoken about yet, is the fact that that game really didn't matter for Liverpool in terms of their sort of Champions League aspirations, and the fact that they sat top of the table before they went into that game. With the 3 games Liverpool had remaining, you would expect them to win all 3, to be honest, just looking at the competition. The game against Real Madrid didn't really matter that much, and when you consider that we had Manchester City on the weekend, I wasn't sure what Arne Slot was going to do, whether he was going to really go for it, or whether he was going to rest some players, rotate, whatever, with one eye on Manchester City. And if he had done that, I wouldn't have blamed him. But I actually think it speaks volumes for his mentality, the mindset of the players, that he didn't do that. He put his strongest 11 out that he could put out, in my opinion. We didn't just beat Real Madrid, but we dismantled Real Madrid. We beat them comfortably, and I really genuinely believe that we can do something similar against Manchester City on the weekend. By the way, just before I get into it, it speaks volumes about the Champions League's new format that I felt as a Liverpool fan, that Liverpool Real Madrid at Anfield really was kind of a nothing game. I really don't like this new format. I think it's terrible, and I think the fact also that like Real Madrid is currently sat in 24th, still have an opportunity to get back into those knockout places with 3 games remaining. It's, you know, if they'd have performed this badly in a group stage, they'd be bottom of the group right now, and they'd be looking at getting dropped out the competition. So the whole format I just think is terrible, but that's the whole other subject that I could do a different video on. I want to talk about that game and its performance first, because I do think it impacts Manchester City's game. So first of all, the fact that Arne Slot wanted to win that game, he put his strongest 11 out, it speaks volumes, as I said, to his mentality. The guy is taking every game as he comes. He spoke about this before the Southampton game. People asked him if the 2 games coming up this week would affect his team selection. He said no, and he was true to his word, because he didn't. He's gone strong in all these games, but he does rotate well, which is one thing I do like about Arne Slot. Despite that though, he put his strongest 11 out for Real Madrid. We dominated Real Madrid in every aspect of the game, possession, in possession, and out of possession as well. And when I talk about out of possession, I'm talking about players like Conor Bradley, who was absolutely phenomenal, by the way. Some of my standout performances where I think Darwin Núñez, I think Curtis Jones, and Conor Bradley, all 3 of them were absolutely sublime. Obviously the first half in particular for Darwin Núñez, I know he didn't get his goal, but him and Curtis Jones were absolutely liquid in the transition between that midfield and the forwards. And if Darwin can put in a performance like that against Manchester City, and I do think he should start, by the way, because, you know, he didn't get his goal, but he was very unlucky not to get his goal. And if it wasn't for Courtois, who's one of the greatest goalkeepers, could even be the best goalkeeper in the game right now, he would have done. You know, he made some brilliant saves, but Darwin had a great first half. It genuinely could have had a hat-trick in that game before he took off. And that, again, just goes to show how badly we dominated Real Madrid. They were lucky to get out of there with a 2-0 scoreline, if we're being honest. But the three of them in particular were my standouts. I know Alexis McAllister got man of the match, and he did put in a brilliant performance, but he seems to do that every game. The consistency is there with McAllister, perhaps not so much with Darwin Núñez. So it's good to see him find that form, and if he can take that into Manchester City, I'm confident that he can get goals. But we've got to speak about Conor Bradley. Conor Bradley's performance was phenomenal. Also, Caoimhín Kelleher. You know, Kelleher and Conor Bradley must have Alisson and Trent sweating at the moment, because, I mean, there's an argument that Caoimhín Kelleher is Arne Slot's goalkeeper at this point. He's played more games for him. He hasn't put a foot wrong, saving the penalty against Kylian Mbappe. I know it wasn't the best penalty ever, but it's such a high-pressure situation, and it's Kylian Mbappe, it's Real Madrid at Anfield in the Champions League. The composure he's shown, he waited for Mbappe to make his move. He went the right way. He saved the penalty. You can't ask for more. The guy hasn't put a foot wrong since he's come in. For a second-choice goalkeeper, there's no doubt in my mind that he is the greatest second-choice goalkeeper in world football, and he's quickly becoming one of the best goalkeepers as well. So what will happen with him in the summer, I don't know, but he has been absolutely pivotal to Liverpool Football Club, not just this season, but in previous seasons and in previous cup wins as well. So shout out to Caoimhín Kelleher. Conor Bradley, a fantastic performance. Offers something a little bit different to Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think it's fair to say that Conor Bradley defensively is better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's night and day for me. Trent's always had the tendency to get exposed sometimes defensively, and that's not me saying that I think Conor Bradley's better than Trent or whatever. I genuinely think they're two different players, and they both offer something a little bit different. Both of them are attacking threats, of course. We know what Trent can do, not only creatively going forward with those switch plays and stuff, but also just as a dead ball specialist. Obviously, Trent offers that where Conor Bradley doesn't, but I think defensively, Conor Bradley is not only much more assured. I mean, that tackle against Kylian Mbappe last night was incredible, and in many ways, it was the beginning of the systematic dismantling of that Real Madrid side. You know, it turned the game. Sometimes it takes a little moment like that, and that was certainly what happened there. But also, Conor Bradley going forwards is a threat as well, in a very different way to what Trent Alexander-Arnold is. You know, Conor Bradley, very aggressive going forwards, finding those runs. A couple of times you've seen him make that run into the penalty box, waiting for that lofted ball over the top. Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, both phenomenal defensively, but also with that one eye on putting those lofted balls in for the attacking runs. I just think everyone was brilliant. It was, and the best thing as well about this Liverpool side at the moment is that I think is one of the best performances we've seen under Arne Slot, but you look at it and you still think there are areas that can be improved on, and that it's possible, you know, that we're not at our limit here with this Liverpool side under Arne Slot. And after a performance like that, it's such a promising thing. This new midfield as well. And granted, one of the things that I think Slot doesn't get enough credit for is that this isn't even his team. This is still Jurgen Klopp's side that he's basically inherited. And there are certain players in this side that I think have come on immensely, that Arne Slot's been able to come in and vastly improve them. I'm talking about Ryan Gravenberch, Luis Diaz, Curtis Jones. All three of those players, they look like completely different players. You know, I know Luis Diaz played a lot under Jurgen Klopp, but the numbers were not there under Jurgen Klopp, and that's completely changed this season. All three of those players, though, they just look like different players to me under Arne Slot. And that's not me saying Arne Slot's better than Jurgen Klopp or whatever, but obviously he's seen something in those players that Klopp didn't, or maybe Klopp never felt he had the time to develop that, and he wanted to, you know, stick with a system that he knew best. But Arne Slot has got the best out of these players, and he's got the best out of this squad that Jurgen Klopp has left him. And actually, when you look at the parallels between Liverpool and Manchester City, one of the things Jurgen Klopp did that perhaps Pep Guardiola hasn't done is he left at the right time. He knew he was running out of energy. He didn't have the energy to rebuild, to go again. And as sad as it was when he announced that and he did leave the club, he's done it at the right time, and we've brought in the perfect replacement, it seems, at this moment in time at least. And you look now at the capitulation that's happening with Manchester City, and you think maybe Pep Guardiola should have gone as well. Maybe it's his time. You know, I actually think when you look at what's happening to City, we've been there. It happened to us as well. It's an aging squad, and it feels to me very much like when we had that sort of Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Fabinho, like that kind of situation in our midfield where you kind of knew it had run its course and players were starting to decline, I can see that same thing happening to Manchester City right now, and it feels like Manchester City, what it needs is a rebuild. And obviously Pep has signed that 2-year extension that gives him time to rebuild if that's what he wants to do, but perhaps maybe he just should have gone in order to save his legacy. Who knows? There's still a long way to go in this season, but what we're seeing from Manchester City right now is like nothing we've ever seen before. And what we've seen from Liverpool last night against Real Madrid was that they absolutely dominated that Real Madrid midfield, this current Liverpool midfield. And I think in its best iteration, it is Alexis McAllister, Ryan Gravenberch, and Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones, shout out to him, by the way, keeping the Hungary captain out of this team, which is no small feat, by the way, because when Dominic Szoboszlai did come on, he looked great as well. That's not me discrediting Dominic Szoboszlai. I'm just simply saying that Curtis Jones is a different player under Arne Slot. He's in the best form of his life right now. He's having such a great season this season as well. Birth of his kid, England international, and now, you know, top of his game for Liverpool. 100% in my starting 11 every week at the moment. That performance last night, that midfield dominating Real Madrid's midfield, Jude Bellingham, Luka Modric, all that is City's weak point at the moment. City are weak and hollow in that midfield, and that's where all of their issues are coming from. And if we can put on a performance like we did last night against this Manchester City side, there is no reason why we can't do the same thing. And a dismantling of Manchester City this weekend is the perfect message to send to world football. Liverpool have beat Real Madrid this week, and if they go on and beat Manchester City, that's the reigning champions of Europe and the reigning champions of England. If Liverpool beat the best team in the country and they beat the best team in Europe in the same week, the only message that sends to world football is that we are the best team in the world. And I'm not saying Liverpool are the best team in the world, but that's the message it sends. And what a message to send at this point, this pivotal moment in a season where you have the potential to go 11 points above Manchester City. And I think if they do that, it further exacerbates Manchester City's situation, because if they have to look at, we're 11 points behind Liverpool, we haven't won a game in the last 7, which is something absolutely unheard of for this Manchester City side. I think you're not only struggling for form at that point, but then the mentality side of it as well comes into play. You haven't won a game in 7 games, but you're 11 points off the league leaders. And this Manchester City side are petulant. They hate losing. They're not good at losing because they're not used to losing. And you're seeing this more and more this season. I honestly, we were talking about this in the group chat, and I said I could see someone getting sent off at Anfield this weekend for City. I'm saying because they don't. If you just get at them, just show them zero respect, right? Because they don't deserve any respect. They're a weak team right now. They're crumbling, and you've got to go in there with that mindset. You know, often teams play Manchester City and you feel them out for 10 minutes. You try and play yourselves into the game because you know what they offer, you know the threat that they offer. I think right now you don't do that. You throw all that out the window. You give them no respect. You know, the early goal is so important in this game. We get an early goal and they start thinking to themselves, oh, this is Tottenham all over again. That's where they're at now mentally. You know, people talk about momentum, and the best thing we did beating Real Madrid midweek in a game that really meant very little to Liverpool in terms of our aspirations for the Champions League right now, being top of the table. The best thing that offered was that we kept the momentum. We've kept that winning momentum, and we're going to roll that into this Manchester City game on a weekend. It's back at Anfield. The crowd, by the way, phenomenal against Real Madrid, and I'm expecting exactly the same, if not more, of that against Manchester City. The crowd are going to be on City's back. We just need to get at them straight away, an early goal, and they mentally will be buried. And I think that is the key to beating this Manchester City side this weekend. Not just beating them, but absolutely dominating them. It is possible, and I think you have to be confident as a Liverpool fan. You have to be confident. If you were a betting man, you'd put your money on Liverpool to win this game this weekend. And if you can't be confident this weekend, then when can you? Liverpool are in the greatest form we've seen under Arne Slot, and that is, to be fair to Jurgen Klopp, the best form we've seen in a couple of years, I think. And we're also seeing a Manchester City side that are in their worst form of all time, and it's certainly probably the worst period of Pep Guardiola's managerial career as well, because he's never ever been on a losing streak this big. You can see that in himself after the game against Feyenoord, which again, by the way, even as bad as City were, I expected them to beat Feyenoord. When they went 3-0 up, you expected them to walk over them, and it didn't worry me. I still expected them to come to Anfield and it be a tough game. But the fact that they threw away a 3-0 lead at the Etihad against Feyenoord after losing 4-0 to Tottenham at the Etihad. It just shows where their mentality is. And then you see Pep Guardiola coming out afterwards with all the scratches all over his head and whatever. And like, I'm not making fun of that in any way, because obviously mental health is a huge deal. And if there is something more to that going on there, then hopefully Pep Guardiola has got the support around him, you know, from Manchester City that he obviously needs, because it was weird. But it shows where he's at as well, mentally fatigued, and the team look mentally fatigued as well. And you've got, like, obviously the petulance seeps in, and as brutal as it might sound, I think Liverpool have to capitalize on that. You know, you got to, like, momentum, it works both ways. Liverpool got the winning momentum right now, but Manchester City is stuck in that sort of losing rut, and it's getting worse and worse for them. And I think all these little things, they add up. You know, it's not just the fact that you threw away a 3-0 loss to Feyenoord, but it's the way that your manager reacted to that and came out and spoke about it in the press, the scratches all over his head. It's really not a good look for City at the moment, and I just think you've got to get at them in this game. And I think you dominate the midfield, and I have no doubt that we can do that, because City are struggling in midfield right now. If you dominate the midfield, you dominate the game. You know, football is a simple game at heart, and that is the key to most games. If you're dominating that midfield, then you're in control both defensively and going forwards as well. You run the game, and Liverpool have an opportunity here to run this game against Manchester City at Anfield. And the best of it is, all of the pressure is on Pep Guardiola. You know, Liverpool technically could stand to get a draw from this game and we'd still be fine. As long as we don't lose it, we're probably still looking pretty good. However, I want to win this. I want all 3 points. I want to go 11 points clear for the message that it sends. Also think it's just massively possible with the form that City are in. But also, the onus is on Pep Guardiola to win this game. All of the pressure is on him, and that means he's going to have to come at us. And that may just work right into Liverpool's favour, play right into our hands, because Liverpool on the counter have been dominant so far this season, and the pace we've seen, the break between Mo Salah and Darwin Núñez last night against Real Madrid. All right, it didn't work out for Darwin Núñez, he didn't get his goal, but he was absolutely liquid in that first half. Him and Curtis Jones together, the breaks through the midfield. If we can do that against this Manchester City side, I have no doubt that we can dismantle them. I have no doubt. So, you know, I'm not trying to be overconfident here or say that Liverpool are going to smash Manchester City, but I think this is such a massive opportunity. It's a City team in a form that we've never seen before. It's a Liverpool team that are absolutely flying, that are absolutely confident. And I haven't even mentioned Mo Salah yet, who obviously he missed the penalty against Real Madrid. But you know what? First of all, it didn't matter because we won the game regardless. We kept the clean sheet. No one cares. But if that means he feels he's got something to prove against City, then what perfect timing that is, because a Mo Salah with something to prove is a dangerous, dangerous Mo Salah. And that could be twofold, by the way, because not only does he want to make up for a penalty miss, but he also wants to send another message to FSG, because God knows what they're doing, not signing him back up. But if he goes out there, puts a massive performance in, a big shift in against Manchester City, the current reigning champions of the Premier League, to send us 11 points clear at the top of the table, then what better message can you send to FSG? So I am going to do a proper match preview for this game, which will probably come out tomorrow, but I just wanted to kind of sit here and vent on some of the thoughts that I had after watching the Real Madrid game, after, you know, obviously with the City game coming up, and then after seeing the current form that Manchester City have been in. And also, you know, it was about time that I returned, gave you guys a video, explained where I'd been as well. So make sure, by the way, get yourselves down in the comments, let me know what you think is going to happen in this game. Give me your thoughts on the game last night against Real Madrid, and obviously this upcoming game against City. But I know, like, some of you were sending messages into the channel asking where I'd been. So, like, shout out to you guys specifically. If you are still here, if people are still watching, then thank you for that as well so much. I didn't want to leave the channel as long as I have, but nothing could be done. Yeah, it was one of those situations, shikataganai, as they say in Japan. If you are new to the channel though, then, you know, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe, otherwise you might not see me again, and that would suck. And if you are subscribed, give the video a like, get some comments in down below, and as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys again tomorrow for the Manchester City preview. Up the tabletop in Reds. Peace.